freaking we're actually being bought and sold on the stock market, and then our birth certificate is
Yeah, we
really
are.
it's actually a receipt. You know what I mean, for goods to be
Hmm.
bought and sold. Um, and like
It is. It,
he was
and
actually he
we're
was
the employees
actually
of
the
this.
one that got me started on the whole consent thing, because it was like he was one that, or he's big on words, okay, and like they manipulate words, like the words that you hear in law aren't the regular language that you hear on the street. You know what I mean? Or because they want to change the terminology for each word so that they can come up with a certain way of talking with one another that ordinary people don't understand. You know, like
A billion
consent.
dollar. Mm-hmm. I'll trust me. I understand.
They use the word consent for so many different things. A police officer can get consent from you because you're driving down the road with a freaking air freshener up on your rear view mirror that looks like a marijuana plant. You know what I mean?
And once you sign something, that's why I always sign X. Like I sign X on everything because because I sign X or scribble. But my school stems from an X. And then it kind of turns into a star. You like now I could have there, but excuse me. I apologize. I'm really attempting to stay here for you, but it's just a lot of us have a lot to say in regards to this. And so I've there's something called The History of the Illuminati. It's a documentary, and Adam Wistop, he says it. He says they will be obtained chiefly by means of the schools and by open hearty behavior, condescension, popularity, and toleration of their prejudice, which we shall at leisure root out and dispel. So basically, we're gonna play you off your weaknesses. If you like to twerk, we're going to make that the most popular thing in the world. But really, we're gonna facilitate our 7 billion down based off of all the people that's just spending their time twerking and showing their asses. Because we don't really need that in real life. We don't need that. You know what I mean? We don't.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make you feel like that's all we're into. Because we know for a fact that you're gonna fall into this category, and we can just whoop, wipe you on out with this hit. We can wipe you out with this hit. And so we start grouping people, and we group you into your by your weaknesses, and we group you together and feel like you're strong within your weakness, but you're just lower levels of weaknesses for us. We just got weakness 1, weakness 2, weakness 3. We have what we're looking at, and I say we, and that makes me sound so bad, but I don't know how to say it any differently because it's the
Yeah.
truth.
That's
But it's like
perfectly fine.
we look, yeah, it's just I gotta tell the truth, and so we look at it from the standpoint of who's willing to do this, who's willing to do that. This is how we're going to determine the population because it's going to be broken down. I know people think we're going to save the world. We're not. We're going to get rid of the waste, and if people don't like to hear that because then they think that the quote unquote rich people are the ones who are in good, but it's not. It's a mental thing. It has nothing to do with finances. People think it has to do with finances, but the
I
rich people
guarantee you.
are
I
not as
guarantee
smart.
you. There's finance involved in it. Now, like
Well, there is a lot. There's a significant amount, but that's not the reason because they know for a fact their money is not enough to sustain. Understand they have to have the mental capacity, these teachings, these powers, the stuff that they use to
yeah, that
control people is what's
that's
important.
very important. But okay, well, first of all, let me kind of say something too about like the Illuminati and what you just stated there. Um, like everybody gets it confused. Like the Illuminati and uh, the Freemasons was the same. Okay,
Hmm.
but the truth of the matter is like when that statement that you just read there came out, it alarmed like every Freemason organization all across Europe, and it spread over to the United States, and it got to the point where George Washington even made a warning to people here in the United States about the Illuminati in one of his freaking speeches. Okay, they were terrified of the Illuminati, but they just
Or they
vanished.
present it so.
Yeah,
That way you can disassociate them with
they just
connection. Absolutely.
and the weird part is they just vanished without a trace. The Germans were actually closing in on him because they wanted to freaking take him into custody because of the stuff he was talking, and he just vanished. I mean, and about Aleister Crowley too. He actually ran the Golden Dawn in the Freemasons. Okay, but before anybody gets carried away with that, you have to understand that there was actually two separate Golden Dawns. Like the one that he ran was pretty much completely different than the original Golden Dawn. So, like when he finally took over, there there was a lot of changes that were done there. So I think a lot of people need to understand that too when it comes to that. Now,
They're not disappearing without a trace. They're transforming. Just for the
well,
record,
that's what I'm
people
saying.
just even with Jeffrey Epstein
They
and
took
Charles.
they took they took the stance of changing their names. They have no problems with changing names. Names are just, you know,
And identities.
yeah,
They,
that's it.
they they could take on a completely new form. Like I think they're like I said, heard like they were talking about like Elon Musk says this like the being able to download a new body. This has been going on long before Elon Musk has been putting it in publicized, making it publicized. Like truth be told, and we don't need all this technology and research that like he's putting way more work into it and effort into it than what is necessary because it's a natural process that you're able to commence. But and I mean like to make it I guess more extravagant, we add a whole bunch of shiny things to it. But truth be told, literally anyone can change their form. And like we do it naturally and we do it daily, but we don't recognize us doing it. So that's what disconnects us, and that's what disassociate. That's why we disassociate from it. But the truth to be told, like these people, if they get what happens is, hey, we have to have you we have to have you do something different. Okay, so they there is a consensus. People are not really scared of their brothers and sisters, but they have to present some type of fear in order for people to kind of like, come on, I got you, come over here. We're all scared. Come here, come here, come here. But they're not really scared. It's more so like, look, okay, so now you can get away free. I got their attention over here. Now go ahead, transform and present the same knowledge, but do it differently. And that's what happens on a consistent basis to where we think that we're getting rid of these people, but we're not. Again, like I said,
Uh,
they're just quote unquote
well,
downloading
see,
new bodies.
that goes back to what I was mentioning that stuff before, but the thing that I was going to get at was the thing about the money. Okay, and the reason why I have to bring that up is because you got to also take another look at things like they at this point they had understood that there is no amount of manpower, there's no amount of military that's going to be able to take over the world. It is virtually impossible for frickin' one human, one country, one anything to take frickin' over the entire planet by force. Okay, so they learned that in order to frickin' take over the world, you don't have to frickin' conquer countries. All you have to do is take and have the money to where you can take over their economies. Okay? And that is where it comes into play. They want to use that money and they want to use that intellect that they know together so that they can take over the economies, change things the way they want it, and manipulate it. Okay? It, it, they don't have any desire whatsoever to frickin' become king or queen or anything. That they know that if they frickin' have the money, they can frickin' tell any president, any king, anybody what to do. Okay, the man who owns the money owns the world.
I disagree, but I mean, like, respectfully disagree that we're gonna have a different. I know better. Like,
Name one
please.
thing in name
I
one
mean, that's
thing
what they think. That's what
in
they know.
this
They like to
physical
prove that
world.
point.
In this physical world, name one thing that is not dictated by money.
Me,
Well, I
me.
mean, no, I mean
You said one.
other than yourself. Okay, just name. I mean, can you go down and frickin'
My
get it?
children.
You know, well, I mean, come up with. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Just think about it. I mean, those are simple things.
Yes, but I'm telling you,
Did
that's enough. I mean, that's enough.
you know? I mean, there isn't one thing that isn't dictated by money. You know, every what do you think people go to school? They go to school
Most
so
people go to school because they would like to get a certain type of job in order for them to acquire a certain type of money. Yeah, that's the mentality being broken down. They're weak. So they're this is presented. So I get where how you feel. or why you feel
Yeah.
like the person with money is the one is in control, because that's what we see. That's the standard that's been set. Okay, but what happens when your money no longer
Well,
means nothing?
let's
If I
take a
blow you up and this whole entire world up, who you gonna pay?
let's take a look at the word standard. What is a standard? Okay. See, nobody ever wants to
Norm, an implemented norm, or an implemented normality.
look it up. Yeah, look it up and see what you can find for just the word standard. Okay. People live off of standards, and they live off of symbols. Okay.
Yeah, I just said an idea or thing used as a measure, norm, or model in compare. I just said that. An implemented normality. I just told you the definition, and I looked it up, and it is the definition.
Now, is there anything else there that defines it? Is there
A
more than
level of quality or attainment.
entertainment, right? Now,
Used or accepted as normal or average. Normal or average. Far from it. So I would not be able to relate.
no, they'll tell you that, right? They'll tell you that in that dictionary. But you know what a standard is? A standard is what was used during freaking battle that each leader of that freaking army had, and certain officers within the army also had that standard, and they would wave it above the freaking battle to where freaking the leaders could tell where they were situated, okay, and then they could dictate where their troops would go to because they could see where the standards for each freaking group was, okay. And that's how they did combat. They used standards and symbols. You see in England where they have frickin' the red dragon and the black dragon, and they have the frickin'
I want to go to England so bad.
the checkers.
There's so many answers there.
All those are symbols, and frickin' all of those are frickin' standards. That was the standard that they carried with them. Do you see any definition for that?
Established by authority, custom, or general consent as a model, example, or point of reference.
No, I mean what I just said. Do you see that as anywhere in that definition? That's what a standard is.
I mean, yeah, I can.
But it's not in the dictionary. See, it's not in there because there's people who don't want you to understand that that's what a standard is. When you
That's crazy. Represents the sovereign and the United Kingdom, but sovereign means separate from like your own self individually, and that is the royal standard in England. Like it's just wild because
okay, the sovereignty is supposed to be the people as a whole. Is what that's supposed to be like. Which it all sounds good on paper, but it's what they tout right there has never been achieved. Like no government's ever been ran by the sovereignty of its people. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You know, and symbols, things like that. You know. You're living in a world where everybody says you have to have standards and you have to symbolize something and stand for something and stuff, and they don't understand the words that they're talking about, what's coming out of their mouth, okay? What is a standard, okay? So that's what I'm getting at. Like a lot of this is wording, you know what I mean? And they want to change things to where the words don't match with what they actually mean.